Greetings, Toffees. Welcome back to another episode of the Blue Frontier. James here, joined by Ryan. Unfortunately, Sean not able to join us today as he was at the match. Everton 2, Ipswich 2. The last 3 p.m. kickoff in Goodison's storied history ended in slightly less than storied fashion as Everton let the 2-0 lead slip away, the 4th time they've done so this season, this time to the already relegated Ipswich Town. Before we get into the episode, it needs to be said, the display put on pre-match by the 1878s was just absolutely stunning. I don't think they gave it nearly enough play on the broadcast, in my opinion. They showed it, obviously, during the walkout to Zed Cars, the throwing of the confetti, which was an interesting wrinkle in the match early on, but I just have to give so much credit to the 1878s for the work that they've done all throughout the season and seasons past, but particularly today was kind of the culmination of all of that, and it really, really was remarkable.
It looked like it was pretty emotional for a lot of people there, and so kudos to those guys. It's just the touch on it, just very well done. And I still don't like the idea that they're kind of out of the mix for the Southampton match, but it is what it is, right, James? These guys went out. This is their last kind of display at Goodison, and they did it very well, no question.
They did, and they've said that they wanted to kind of enjoy the final match as fans and not have to deal with all the pressure of putting together the display. So this was their ultimate tribute to Goodison, and I think they just went above and beyond and executed it absolutely brilliantly. So credit to them, credit to all the supporters there who helped support that. Before we get into it, just obviously a reminder, if you enjoy the show, please leave us a rating and review on your podcast platform of choice. We do sincerely very much appreciate that. Follow us on socials. Join our Discord. All those links will be in the description of the episode. With that, we go to the summary quote of the day, this time from Twitter/X, and I went with Kevin Dyer, who will have a couple shoutouts on this episode, at Nebula1979, who said, 1878's great, EFC poor. Some nice football at times, but little impact. Gay, distracted, JOB, poor for equalizer. Positive from Alcaraz and McNeil, NJ peripheral. Zero threat from EFC second half. Lowest XG versus Ipswich this season. Have to sign off versus Southampton. Last game at Goodison Park. No excuses. And yeah, this is not the way that you'd want the second to last game at Goodison Park to go. And really not the way you'd want the final season at Goodison to go. But one last chance to make it right in a couple weeks against Southampton. Score predictions from the Discord. We didn't have any today. I'll give Cryptus partial credit because everyone predicted a win except for him, and he went with a 1-1 draw.
It doesn't count.
It doesn't count toward the scoreboard, but I wanted to give him, just for being contrarian, partial credit, honorable mention for predicting the 1-1 draw, which the draw result was ultimately correct. And thanks to Sean for being there for securing the draw. We really appreciate it.
Yes, because if you were there, we know what would happen. So
all right. Well, yes. So we've decided that Ryan is good for the wins. Sean is the master of the draw, and I guess even though we've only lost one of the 2 games I've been, I'm the loss guy. So I'll wear that. It's fine. Hopefully can get rid of that hoodoo at the new stadium, and it's just a Goodison thing.
I've been there several times, and I've never seen them lose in regulation. So
all right.
Just want to throw that out there. Never. Either way, speaking of the team to win or lose, the Everton team today, as we know, is not quite of the quality of some of the teams of the past. But, James, I thought it was kind of interesting, the approach that Moyes took today. He definitely seemed very, very focused on getting certain guys on the pitch.
Yeah, he did, and I think with just a few games remaining and the couple of injuries that we have, really just trying to suss out what he can about the squad, what he doesn't already know, and I have a feeling he feels very strongly about a number of these players already. But as far as the lineup today, Nathan Patterson keeping his spot, meaning it's an unchanged back line for Everton. O'Brien and Branthwaite obviously still kind of working out the chemistry with their partnership at center half. Again, defensive midfielders the same, Garner and Idrissa Gana Gueye. But what's really interesting up front is we had a pretty interesting attacking lineup. And when the lineup dropped, I was very interested to see where each of these guys would play because I think it's a potentially very interchangeable front 3 of Njai, Alcaraz, and McNeil, all behind Beto, who obviously leads the line.
Is this our best attacking lineup?
Yeah, I think so. I think it has to be. I don't know.
I think so, too.
Yeah, I think what you sacrifice in order to make it our best attacking lineup is maybe what comes back to bite us in this match. But in terms of what each of these guys are a threat with the ball at their feet, and any substitution of any one of those players, you're losing, I think, a significant amount of ability to create an attack.
Yeah, and there's kind of a strange mix that, you need to build some chemistry with, and we haven't seen this lineup yet, so I think there was a bit of that at play. And getting to Ipswich too, their lineup's a little bit odd and has been recently. They're in essence playing 4 center backs, Greaves is out left. I mean, he's got a very good left foot, but I mean, he's not really a left back. And O'Shea is at right back as well, too. It's interesting, Ben Johnson, who's playing right back a lot, came in and played right wing last match and got a red card, and Leif Davis is out for the same reason. Yeah, it's strange. The way they've used their attacking players, I would think they have a little bit more on the bench, and they're not really taking advantage of. But I mean, the danger guys on this team, I mean, Delap's annoying up top. He works very hard. He's fast. He's physical. And did I mention annoying? He could strike a ball and can score. And Cizo obviously is going to shoot the ball from all over the darn place. He has ever since I watched him in Paraguay. You know what I mean? That's just kind of his game, and he strikes it very well, as we'll talk about later. Hutchinson's also a bit of a dangerous guy, cutting in on his left foot. He's a little bit undersized, though. He is quick, so if he can get out in the open field, he can cause problems for sure. But I mean, this isn't a dynamic team by any stretch of the imagination, is it, James?
It's not, no, and obviously the fact that they're already relegated, you'd think would maybe give Everton a slight edge in that they have the motivation of things to play for, but I think Ipswich really they got out over their skis a little bit this season, 2 successive promotions, and they don't quite have the squad to support that. They, of course, have some very good pieces, as you pointed out, Ryan. I mean, even a guy like Hutchinson, who I think is very highly regarded, I think this season will have done him well, but hasn't quite had the impact that maybe some would have hoped for Ipswich coming into the season, whereas like a shrewd loan move like in Ciso, we saw what he's capable of doing today. And really, the Delap furor is just kind of driving me insane at this point. Everyone wants him. Who's going to get him? David Moyes even saying in the pre-match presser, I believe, that if Delap is interested in Everton, then we're interested in him. Which, yeah, of course.
Okay. I mean,
Great.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I go back and forth on him. I mean, he's still young. He can get better. He can score goals. I mean, he wouldn't be out of place, with our center forward mix. I don't know if he's really necessarily the answer. I think today I don't think was particularly great. We'll talk a little bit more about kind of those matchups, because I thought that was an interesting matchup to watch, our 2 big center backs. But fundamentally, he's not going to be able to overpower either of those guys. And there aren't many combinations out there that's more physical and bigger than them. So that's kind of understandable. You couldn't really expect him to do that. And he was often isolated today. Ipswich is really conceding the ball. And I think what was disappointing too, James, is it's a fairly defensive lineup for Ipswich, with those guys in the back. And you've got, all those guys injured for them, Philogene and Ogbene's out. And I mean, Nathan Broadhead, don't forget him. But Sammy Smodics, who everyone wanted us to get, he's out too. And it's just, so they're missing a lot of attacking options. And it's unfortunate that we conceded 2 goals. I think that was the big one. But for me, the big key matchup was going to be in Ciso versus Pato. Because you got to figure, hopefully Moyes, against a team like this, was going to attack through Nathan Patterson a lot more. And just to see how he worked with Dwight. And while that's interesting in the attacking zone, I was concerned about what it might look like on the defensive side. And Enciso's a good player, and you don't want to give him too much room because he can hurt you otherwise. And Hutchinson getting on his left is another danger, but that's about it to me, And I think the other thing is in terms of matchups, because I think Mikalenko and Hutchinson's an okay matchup for me. You know what I mean? That's not one I was too concerned about. But I think fundamentally in this match, as we kind of get into it a bit, we had the ball a lot. And do we have the type of squad that can break down 4 center backs and tight spaces? I mean, they were just flooding the box and playing very compact. Do we have the players that can really kind of unwind a defense like that, James? And unfortunately, we just lack quality at certain positions. So if you've got to make 4 or 5 pass sequences, I mean, how many of those are going to be perfect? How many of those are going to be fast? How many of those are going to be precise? And, I thought the lack of quality was noticeable at times today, despite some pretty good goals being scored.
Yeah, 2 excellent, I think, individual goals scored, but not ones. And you look at, Charlie's cross, we'll talk about it. The first goal for Everton is a decent team goal, you could say, but none really created out of fluid movement or an orchestrated play. It's kind of, they are what they are. And as you say, Ryan, I mean, playing our in theory, I think we're in alignment, best attacking lineup against a very defensive team who's going to sit back. This would be a good test of our capability to break down a team from open play, and we think we got a pretty clear answer on how capable this team is of doing that.
Yeah, and the funny part is, for much of the season, Ipswich has been lots of goals and lots of goals given. You know what I mean? At times, it's just they've just morphed a little bit as a team, partially due to injuries. But I mean, getting into the timeline, I think what we see these moments, but they're not necessarily sustained play of. I mean, we had the ball a lot, but just kind of little half chances here or there, and a lot of this stuff was just kind of set pieces early as well as crosses from outside. You know, they were just pushing us out wide, and we attacked a lot down the right side, James. I don't know if that's kind of what I would have done. I think I would have tried to force it a little bit more down the left side. But if you do that, and Charlie and Njai are combining a little bit, you still got to have Mikalenko out wide, and he's not that great in the box. But yeah, I mean, just starting it here. I mean, you've got. We won a couple corners early. It was just the Beto show there for a while. I think he had 3 shots in 6 minutes, right? I mean, Dwight with the cross, JB puts it across the goal. Beto, this is actually a pretty big chance. And I mean, Palmer does really well getting to the spot to make this save look easy, but this is a pretty good finish.
Beto gets that header at the back, header in the middle of the box, and we're really pushing, and Beto's involved and active, and that's his 3rd shot in 6 minutes, as you said, Ryan.
Can we talk about the overhead he tried in the 11th?
Yeah, we have to, because the ambition alone is worth a mention.
It was hysterical, but they're just glimpses. He had the header right after that too, where it's just a little bit of moment. Those are big guys down the middle, and he kind of gets his head on there, and bang. You had an example of some decent ball movement at times, James. I mean, I thought we started okay. I think there was a big chance playing Patterson into the box. I think this is the only touch he had in the box all match, though. I think that's a little disappointing. I mean, I really would have thought he could turn the corner a little bit more, but they were playing a little bit deeper, and Patterson hits it right at the keeper, I guess.
But the build-up there is really good, right?
Yeah.
I mean, Njai's driving forward. He kind of lays it off to Beto. And honestly, Beto lays it off to Charlie, who I think maybe should have shot it there, but he lays it off to Patterson, kind of moving the ball left to right, and Patterson's in space. He shoots it right at Palmer, but Palmer's positioned well at the near post to kind of guard the goal.
I think we passed up a lot of shots today, actually. I feel like, we had sustained possession at times, and not that I want Ghana to be threatening women and children in the stands, shooting it from distance. We do have some guys. Well, we do have some guys that can hit it from distance, and sometimes if that's what they give you, and sure knows, seemed the ball was flying all over the place today for some reason as well. But fundamentally, we do eventually break through. I mean, we're pressing high at this point too. We're definitely front foot, which is, I think, what you would want to see at Goodison against a team like this. This first goal, though, this finish, the cross and finish is just unbelievable. I mean, it's really, really high level.
Yeah, really active from Charlie, first to try to lay the ball off to Mikalenko, who's kind of overlapping, running deep into the corner. Mikalenko's cross gets blocked, obviously. It comes back. Charlie chasing it down, recovers it. He's got that space. In-swinger to Beto's head. Beto does really well to also time the movement, so his momentum's toward goal, and he places it so well. Nothing Palmer can do to get anywhere near it. It's kind of right down in the bottom corner. Excellent goal, excellent finish, and really, of the two teams in the opening half an hour, it's Everton who deserve to be in front.
Yeah, no question. It's a phenomenal finish. I mean, it's an absolutely perfect finish. There's nothing a keeper can do. Flicked on header, perfect timing. It's just great. In fact, it's a shame that we couldn't. I feel like the service got worse as the match went on.
Agreed.
Not way off necessarily, but I mean, Beto's not perfect, but that's a big target in there. I would have liked to see us do a little bit better in trying to find him.
That said, the cross from Charlie is placed incredibly well, so it's almost hard to improve on that because it is well placed.
He's got a great right foot, right? And you could see it. I swear to heavens, if we don't exercise this guy's option, I don't know what we're thinking. And this is a good young player. I'd love to see him next year. Surround him with some better players, too. Maybe he's not a starter, too. I mean, I don't know, but he's certainly a valuable piece, no question, at that price. Very interesting, like right after the goal, pretty much, the ball heads off into the corner, and Jake goes in for a normal kind of tackle on Delap kind of in the corner, and Delap tries to pull him almost into the side, into the adverts. And what was really interesting about this is O'Brien steps up, goes after him, and shoves him, and I mean, he is towering over him. And Delap is not that small a guy, I mean, he's not super tall necessarily, but he's a big dude. I mean, James, he made him look like a little kid.
Well, 6'6" will tend to do that to a lot of football players.
Yeah, he's a big guy, no question about it. But I think what's really interesting is they both get yellows, and that's fine. But right after this, JB goes up for that header, and Delap just goes right into him. Now, Delap gets a little out of control times. I get that. But I'm curious if your thought on this one, whether this deserved the second yellow. It would have been a little harsh maybe because it's right back-to-back, but in this instance, I mean, he stares, he looks at the player, and I think he goes into him pretty hard. Now, I'm not saying this is normally a yellow, at least not in the Premier League, but I mean, this also shows you what a wind-up Delap is, too. He's smiling the whole time. And
exactly. I think O'Brien gets under his skin a little bit, and he's all riled up and fired up, and he sees an opportunity to get one on Branthwaite because, right, he doesn't really... On the initial replay, I'm like, oh, it's just a kind of 50-50 ball. They're both going for it. But then you look and like, no, Delap is looking at Branthwaite in the air and kind of just goes into his midsection. Looked pretty uncomfortable for Branthwaite, to put it as diplomatically as possible. I think it's just so rare to see.
What are you trying to say?
Yeah, he got hit in an area that is not good. I just think it's so rare that you see guys get back-to-back yellows in such quick succession. You're almost given like a grace period of immunity from the referee, it feels like.
Yeah, I'm not going to give the referee any credit for any element of consistency, though, today. I mean, he was all over the place. I mean, I couldn't figure out what he was going to call half the time when he blew the whistle. It was very bizarre. The audio was turned up, at least for the crowd, or the crowd was just insanely loud today, so it was hard to tell when he blew the whistle or when he didn't, and I think that was slightly confusing throughout the match. Morrissey gets a yellow here not too far after this, and Ipswich are getting a little bit chippy, but we were a bit on the front foot at this point. You could feel the momentum, and sure enough, we strike again in the 35th minute. It's a great strike by Dwight, but what happens on here? I mean, it's just a very strange thing for the keeper. I mean, it swerves like over 10 feet, so maybe he didn't pick it up right away because there might have been a player in front of him. I don't know if that's true. But, James, I mean, you were saying this off the pod. I mean, this is exactly what you want from Dwight, right? This is the benefit you get by playing him in this position.
This is right-wing Dwight. This is why this type of play is exactly why you think there may still be hope that he could play in this position more regularly because he's capable of this type of moment. Receives it in space, no one closing him down. He just has to turn, take one dribble to set up the shot, and he rips it. I almost think the swerve is obviously what makes the goal, but he hits it like dead on. Like you don't expect it to have any that severe movement. So I think he just kind of freezes Palmer. Palmer sees it off his foot coming like right at him. Next thing you know, it's in the opposite corner. Like he doesn't hit it like a curler where you would kind of jump to the side and start to make that movement. I still haven't seen like a great angle of the movement on it, like from directly behind, but you can see in just some of the more awkward angles, the mobility of the ball is just almost defies physics.
Yeah, the problem is you got to pick that up right away. If you don't pick up the ball, and it looked like it was knuckling. It wasn't like the side spinner, like you would say when you hit it with the outside of the foot and kind of cut through it, so it cuts. Yeah, for sure. Look, at this point, I mean, through the goal, I mean, we're looking at 59% possession for Everton, not a single dispossession at this point, 2 dribbles to 0 dribbles for Ipswich, and it really did look like Everton were controlling the match. Not that we were necessarily dominating. I wouldn't say we deserved to be up 2, but we were. And that was fantastic. I think there was people were having a lot of fun at this point, I think, at Goodison. It was rocking, it was rolling, and you could feel the momentum even if the quality wasn't always there. But sure enough, the match kind of changes a little bit here. I mean, Ipswich kind of get on the counter with Hutchinson driving forward and finds Enciso, which is interesting because he just smashes. This is the one I think he smashed over the bar that Patterson just looked completely lost trying to defend him 1v1. I don't know what you do there. I mean, clearly I think we all know we need a better, well-rounded right back. But this isn't the game changer. The game changer happens about a minute later.
Yeah, this was just the warning that a game changer was potentially coming, and it's the golazo from Enciso. I mean, I don't know what more you can say. It's very much an individual moment. He beats McNeil, just leaves Ghana kind of in the dust. And then he's in this little bit of space in between where our defense is kind of set up just outside the box. Garner is standing flat-footed or trying to like brace himself, maybe thinking he's going to try to take him on, but Enciso lines up the shot and Garner takes a half step at the last moment, but this is an unbelievable hit. It's like 30, 35 yards out. It goes high. It dips behind Pickford. He gets nowhere even remotely close to it. It's barred down. And then Pickford and Enciso runs to grab it, and Pickford like daps him up, like gives him a high five. I guess credit where credit's due. It is probably a very strong goal of the season contender in the Premier League.
Yeah, that was kind of weird. Yeah, it's absolutely smashed. It's dipping like crazy. I mean, it's bar down, man. I mean, it's you can be critical of Pickford in the fact that if he has a weakness, it's probably some of the shots from distance, some of the stuff into the upper corners. He's not 6'5", he's not 6'6". He's phenomenal on the ground and just generally a very, very good keeper. I don't think a whole lot of people are saving this one anyway, and if you were to, you would have had to get a big jump on it whatsoever. So you don't like someone to score from that distance. A lot of people I see blaming James Garner, and though I don't think Garner had a great match today, I think his issues are on display when we have the ball a lot. He just can't move it very fast. His first touch is inconsistent. His ball control is not great. He has a good right foot, but didn't really use it much today. But Garner also has Chaplin behind him too. So Chaplin's very smartly placed in kind of the right half space. So I don't know what you can really expect from that. It's not crazy to let a guy shoot from that distance. It's not ideal, but I mean, this is an absolute banger, James, right? I mean, there's doing too much analysis. This one, I don't know if it's really even necessary.
Yeah, I mean, we should have it here. What's the XG on that shot? I mean, it's like probably what, 0.02, 0.01, like. Those are the shots that you're pretty comfortable giving up 99, 98% of the time because it's usually nowhere near goal. And Enciso just happens to be, if there's one guy you want to close down from distance, it's probably this guy.
That's right. I mean, and that's the only thing that kind of irks me a little bit. They didn't have a ton of players going forward there because the ball had kind of come out a little bit. And so in that case, I'd like to see us push up a little higher and go get him. But the ball was in deeper before that. So I don't know. It's a tough call.
And again, he beats Ghana to create the space in the first place. So what?
Not Ghana's best game, to be perfectly honest. No. I mean, Ghana had some decent moments on the ball in tight spaces, but that's it. I just felt like, it was just kind of a little scattered today, and I think it's just lack of quality, But yeah, it's 0.02 XG. Opta says the post shot was only 0.14. I don't. I think they may want to get a little better metric on, and again, it's not the most advanced XG model. I would think another one would give you the idea of the trajectory going down, the dipping, the spin. I mean, it literally hits the bar. I mean, I think that's a little absurd. Regardless, we get into half, and you could look at the numbers, right, James? I mean, heavy possession for Everton with 57%, slightly beating them in XG. I don't know if it really deserved to be 2-0, but it was. And no one is really kind of missing a big chance or anything. You can't really point to anything other than that. I think we were fortunate to be up 2-1, but maybe we should have been, because I do think we were the more dangerous side. But it's just those last 5 minutes of the first half kind of, I don't know, it kind of worried me a little bit going into the second. I don't know what your feelings were.
Yeah, it felt like Ipswich grew into the game more as it went on, and we started out strong with those handful of Beto half chances, and then sort of went downhill besides the Dwight banger.
And I think, we were suffocating them with pressure at times. There was a lot more energy, and that kind of went away a little bit in the second half. And you can't dial down the intensity here, because we're not going to be able to sit back with the ball and create chances like we're freaking Man City. You know what I mean?
No, we're not accustomed to having majority of possession, whereas Ipswich are a lot more comfortable sitting slightly deeper. Even though their defense has been suspect and they're dealing with injuries, I think the familiarity, even though, again, both teams are using different personnel, but just in the general tactics of the game, I think Ipswich were probably more comfortable. And you saw that at the start of the second half, they almost sat even deeper, it felt like, in the first part of the second.
Yeah, and they built into the game and started attacking on the counter. I think fundamentally, when you watch us move the ball around, it is amazing how few passes are right weight, right shape, right direction, and how few first touches in receiving those passes are perfect. And it's just slow, and it's muddled, and there's some energy, there's some people making runs, maybe not enough, but fundamentally this match was them pushing us wide, and Patterson, Mikalenko, at the beginning of the second half, you saw McNeil from distance curling some balls in, right, and that looked a little bit dangerous, but it's also a little bit of the issue with him playing right wing, because he's not going to take the ball and beat someone when they're packed in. It's one thing to do it on the counter where you've got some open field and he can use his length and whatnot, but he's not particularly agile. He's not all that tricky with the ball necessarily. He's not going to create space for himself in tight places. It's not going to happen, and he's so left foot oriented. I don't know if he was really going to get the best out of Patterson. Now, Patterson had some crosses, but I don't know. We were down the right side a lot, didn't seem to produce a whole lot. Very strange delay here into the second half when Enciso flings himself backwards at Njai and hurts himself in the make. I don't see any possible way a referee could have been watching this play and called a foul on Njai. Njai was incredulous. He just could not believe that they called a foul. I mean, Enciso was falling before he even initiated the contact. You know what this had me doing, though, James? I know it's in the doc here, so yes, of course you know, so I'm not going to play this fake question on the air, but, like, I was trying to figure out the mathematical equation on their kit the whole time.
Yeah, I think that math equals a ginger pop star if you run the numbers on it. That's what it
nuts. Is. Nah, that's my bad. I mean, I missed it then. I got it wrong. What can I say?
It's tough with no integers in your defense. It's just a bunch of operators.
Yeah, no. It just looks so weird. I'm like, Max is watching. He looks at it. He's like, what the heck is that? I'm like, never mind. Just go do your homework.
And I'll just go on record. I know Ed Sheeran, not everyone's cup of tea, but I don't mind his early stuff. I know in our, the Discord is like all, and you included, are like more metal-oriented, darker stuff. Nice little light Ed Sheeran. Not the worst thing on like just a casual listening. But
I'll say this: if you haven't seen the story of Jamie Foxx talking about bringing out Ed Sheeran to like the crowd, that's a great story. I think it was on Graham Norton. Anyway, yes, I would like to mention too. Yes, we do have a lot of metalheads on the Discord. I'm not really necessarily metalhead. Not getting into this and being distracted, but like squirrel. So yeah, as they settle in and start to grow into the game, I mean, other than kind of the Dwight curls, and there's a really nice one at about the 60th minute. And Ciso just seems like he keeps taking shots. He had 6 shots for the match, I believe, James. That's what we're at. And, Patterson just can't really deal with him. There's some issues with that back line, I think, in the wide areas. Mikalenko was good today defensively, not good going forward. It's just very unbalanced. But I think what was disappointing is after kind of these kind of consecutive curling crosses from Dwight, there really wasn't much to speak about from a threat. I mean, they closed down the middle very much, and those wide guys for us really just nothing was happening, And maybe you could critique Moyes from maybe there could have been a little more play design, but I just think it was fundamentally lack of quality. And I think Ipswich were frustrating Everton at times. I mean, a little bit after that, you've got Chaplin who kind of takes that late shot at Charlie. Charlie's a little bit, hot, runs
excitable.
A little hot. Yeah, I mean, he's got to watch it a little bit because this is an unnecessary card to get, especially in a guy. They list Chaplin at 5'10". There's no way that guy's 5'10".
Not even close.
Not even close. Not that there's anything wrong with short people. I just want to make it clear. I've been accused of some things, James, and I'm not appreciative of those things. Anyway, Ipswich make a triple sub in the 67th and brings in Clark, Hurst, and Phillips. I don't think Delap was great, so it makes sense. Hurst has been playing a lot for them recently, too, and he's an okay center forward. Interesting, Calvin Phillips was on. He looked svelte as usual. We were talking about this off the pot. I kind of like Jack Clark, man. He has a little bit of a burst, and he definitely gave them a little bit energy. It seemed like Ipswich were getting up and down the pitch a little bit better at this point.
Yeah, I mean, we were definitely starting to tire as well, and I think you see Moyes start to react, get some subs up. They had the fresh legs, and yeah, Clark just brought a little bit of burst energy and some cleverness to that midfield. Hurst up front would eventually, of course, we'll get to it in a second, get the equalizer. Patterson in the 75th, even when he is successful dribbling the ball, he never looks good doing it. Like, he takes 2 really heavy dribble touches and still manages to recover it, and he gets a cross away, but it's over everyone. At this point, the delivery is really deteriorating. Like, we'd have
the energy was low at this point, right? I mean, I think a lot of people in the Discord are watching the game saying, I think it's time for subs. Not because I really thought that they were going to score, but only because it just seemed like we were not losing, maybe losing a little bit of control of the match, but like the same energy that really spurred us on earlier in the match was simply not there. And sure enough, David Moyes makes the sub in the 77th minute. It's an interesting sub, James, for a couple different reasons. First of all, do we think the sub is good? And second of all, I mean, this is a really impressive hair aspect to a sub, right? I mean, this is a massive upgrade in hair products and hairstyles, don't we think?
Yeah, well, firstly, we have Dominic Calvert-Lewin back. We knew that he would be on the bench pre-match because Moyes had alluded to it, but also said that he really wasn't anywhere close to match fitness and questioned whether he was even fit enough to play actual minutes. So to see him go to Calvert-Lewin ahead of Tremidi was perhaps a little surprising, but that new cut, man, it looks good. He's a fashionable guy, whatever else you want to say about him. And then Jack on for Dwight. I mean, I think Dwight, as recently as last week, we were saying looked gassed in like a sub appearance. So the fact that he made it 77 minutes, fair enough. He gets a great goal. I'm okay with both of these subs. I think Beto, again, ran a lot. He had to do a lot of pressing from the front, covering a lot of ground. I'm okay with both of the subs. Again, major hair upgrade. Jack on the right, I think, gives you a little bit more up and down in the final minutes if the game opens up a little bit. And a little more athleticism than Dwight. So,
yeah, you know what's really interesting, though, James, about this? I mean, a lot of people were thinking, why is he playing Broja as much as he was before? I mean, it seems to me this is a pretty strong signal to him that you're not an option here. I mean, think about it, right? Because he could have brought him on. I mean, the second Dominic Calvert-Lewin could play, or maybe it's an ode or Moyes trying to convince Dominic Calvert-Lewin to stay. I mean, that could be it.
Well, there's that interview with Dom this week where he says a lot of very interesting things that would make it seem like that door is now open again, which is bizarre. We'll talk about that maybe on a different episode. But I also think because our creation was so reliant on crosses into the box, that's not really Broja's game. So you probably hope that Dominic Calvert-Lewin can offer a bit more in the air. So I think that's probably fair.
And it made an immediate impact. I mean, let's be honest. So
in that we immediately concede.
Yeah, this one's a weird play too, because I mean, Patterson's at the other end, makes a pass and makes a run. It's a good run. I mean, he flat out got, hand to his face twice. And then only later he went down after kind of they came together and there was a little bit of a battle there. But had he went down immediately when he first got the hand in his face, he probably draws the foul. I think they probably should have called a foul regardless. It's strange how this happens. Mikalenko has a foul in the buildup. This is another mistake where Mikalenko rushes up to foul the player, but doesn't take him out, and doesn't win the ball. I mean, that's what's the point of that foul if you're not going to snuff out the counter? And sure enough, Ghana had to cover back for him. And this cross comes in. I mean, it's a lucky cross. I mean, it hits Ghana. It basically spun the ball higher in the air, gave it more of a trajectory that makes it harder to stop. Otherwise, I think Jake O'Brien is 6'6", is probably going to be able to get his head on it. Now, look, Jake loses his man a little bit. He's checking his shoulder. He knows he's kind of there, but he's not tight on him. He's not, the technique's not good. He really needs to grab him or get a hold of him a little bit. And, Hurst heads it and nods it in. I mean, I think Pickford probably could have gotten all the way to the post. I don't know why he didn't. He kind of stopped. Maybe he didn't. It's hard for a keeper to judge where that cross is going to land. He's got to focus more on the player. There's just a lot kind of that's unfortunate here and goes wrong. I don't know. I mean, Opta told me that it's 0.97 expected goals against, after post shot. So maybe I shouldn't be so critical because I thought Pickford maybe should have saved it. But it's just disappointing, James, because, maybe they were getting the best of us in the second half, and I can't argue that we were creating a whole lot. I think they were effective in doing what they were doing, but this isn't, I don't know, it's just kind of a nothing goal,
Yeah, they also hadn't really they'd been pushing and threatening vaguely, but nothing super concrete up to that point, and for that goal to come through 2 play-ons and a deflected cross that loops it perfectly for Hurst, it just felt like nothing was going to go our way. Everything had to go against us on that play for that to end up in the back of the net.
Yeah, I agree. And yes, there's a little bit game state here and them getting chances and stuff, but it just never felt like any of these chances were amazing. I mean, so basically their 2 goals are a fairly lucky play and an absolute worldly banger from 35 yards out. Right. You know what I mean? It's just kind of one of those things. Almost immediately, Dominic Calvert-Lewin makes his presence felt by being shoved to the ground by Burgess. The referee was not going to blow the whistle, I'm convinced, until everyone went crazy. It was just very strange. Then there's a very odd sub, I think, at the end of this match, where we take Ghana and Charlie off for Trimidi and everyone's favorite enchanter, Tim. Does this just kind of speak to the lack of quality on the bench?
Yeah, this is just grasping at straws, maybe get some fresh legs and try to energize your way to a goal in the stoppage time.
I also forgot that right after kind of the goal, not right after, close to after the goal, Pato gets subbed off for Young. Do we think this has anything to do with Patterson just laying on the ground when this goal goes in? What do you think?
I mean, I would have probably put on Young earlier, honestly. That probably would have been my choice. I still think Young is at 38 years old, is a better player than Nathan Patterson is right now. I just don't really see what Patterson
Smarter
adds.
Defender.
Yeah, absolutely better defender. And, Young gets across here at like the very death that goes over everyone and doesn't result in anything. But I do think Pato's probably gassed, and I think, maybe there's a slight injury issue there. But then, the double sub, I mean, Charlie at that point taking him off to put on a second striker.
Yeah,
the second striker thing just never works for us. It's so bad. It's just reeks of desperation, and we never have any coherence when we try to do it.
Yeah, we don't have enough guys that are good on the ball to begin with. Don't take one of the guys off that is, I just bringing on. It's like the logic where everyone, the small sect of Everton fans that just think buy million strikers because that just brings goals.
More strikers, more goals. It's a simple math equation, unlike the one on Ipswich's kits.
Yeah, exactly. Thank you. I appreciate that. I feel like you're really supporting me well in my math deficiencies today. But anyway, taking a step back, I mean, the second half is very similar in terms of ball possession, but very dissimilar in terms of chances. I think fundamentally, we had one shot the whole second half. Now, we had the ball in some dangerous areas. There were some crosses in there where something could have been created. It wasn't completely pathetic, but it wasn't great either. And Ipswich had 4 shots, 2 shots on target, one big chance that they buried, one goal off 0.43 XG and 42% possession. And it's disappointing, but it's just not the greatest performance in the second half. Moyes said afterwards that he was really hoping we'd get that third goal. We came close to it and didn't. I don't know when we came close to getting the third goal. That didn't seem like a very fair characterization of the second half. I just don't think it was good enough from Everton.
Yeah, absolutely not. Again, 0.05 XG in the second half with most of the same personnel in there the whole time. I think Ipswich did a good job of just really solidifying that low block, and we could not find a way through it any way that we tried. And it's just part of the lack of familiarity with having to do that all season.
But don't you think it's disappointing the fact that we did muster 2 goals? Scoring 2, I think, was very good considering the general lack of quality of chances. I think the more disappointing thing is conceding 2, right?
Yeah, it has to be. It has to be. You have to try to preserve those leads. It's been a hallmark of Everton this season. Preserving leads, not our strong suit. And you almost think, there's part of me that thinks, do you still try to kind of dictate the game? Do you try to take Ipswich out of their comfort zone once you have the 2-0 lead and, you try to set up more of a low block and not be so expansive? I do appreciate Moyes being aggressive with just 2 games at Goodison left to go and trying to push for the third to really see it off. But I think that played into Ipswich's hands in a lot of ways and ultimately backfired. So, again, the lack of depth on the bench, something Moyes is keenly aware of. There's really not a lot of game-changing subs that we can make. So that played a big role as well.
Yeah, I think maybe a different approach would have been helpful, possibly, but there's only so much Moyes can do in terms of design with these guys. They're just not good enough. What are your thoughts about this last quote from Kevin Dyer? Nebula back on the 2-time appearance on the pod today, huh?
Yes, sir, yeah. So he said, poor result, awful second half, non-performance. Not a performance, it's a non-performance. 1 shot, XG of 0.05. Embarrassing display in Goodison's penultimate game. Outshot 12-8. XG, we read the numbers already. Lowest XG versus Ipswich all season. Other teams to generate lower than 1 XG since September. Manchester United have done it twice. Credit. And Southampton once. So we're in good company in that regard with those 2 clubs. We're having fantastic seasons, as we well know. I think it characterizes it well. Ipswich have not been good this season. We had the platform set, a really eager crowd to be involved, a 2-0 lead to preserve, and just completely let it slip. Partially. Go ahead.
Well, I think what's totally disappointing is, fine, you have the lead. You can sit back and kind of do whatever, keep the ball. We had 2 accurate crosses the entire second half. And it wasn't for lack of there were plenty of opportunity and attempts to make them. I think that's it. You only have 10 touches in the opposition box in the second half, which, okay, whatever, big deal. It's just the concession that is just the problem. Just stay on the ball, dominate it. And maybe you could look at Moyes as some of the subs. Like, maybe you're right, James. Maybe Patterson taking him off earlier. That was clearly a matchup issue with him and Enciso on that side. If you want to continue to push him up higher in attack, you're giving opportunities for Enciso to do something. I don't know. There were a couple good performances. Honestly, I struggled to pick a guy other than you picked.
Yeah, I went with Charlie. He was kind of the obvious choice for me. Just the fantastic cross for Beto's opener. 3 for 4 in long balls, drew 3 fouls. Just making his case for why Everton should sign him, I think, was pretty much unanimous amongst the fan base that he's a no-brainer signing. But other than that, I think you're right. I think you're really hard-pressed to pick another decent performance. Beto gets the goal, but he also sort of faded as the game went on. Dwight McNeil scores an unbelievable goal at decent numbers.
Yeah, him. It was like 0 for 4 in duels. He no completed dribbles. He's limited when he gets out there, to what he did today. But he did it. and the service wasn't quite there. Of course, he's going to be a little rusty, so I'm not going to hold that against him. Who else would you say were great? I mean, JB was fine. I mean, Jake is kind of at fault for the second goal and wasn't perfect today. I don't think the midfielders were good in particular.
No,
I think
they
it
definitely
was
weren't.
pretty off. I mean,
alarming, actually.
Yeah, wasn't good. Too easy to get played past. I mean, Garner also has some positional issues as well, too, at times. Mikko was fine defensively to shut down Hutchinson, but not effective in the final third. And Njai was okay, but, not quite the threat. People were not taking shots, too. That was kind of driving me crazy.
Yeah, I mean, Kevin said it in the initial match reaction, in that Njai felt very peripheral in a lot of ways, which was interesting because he did come central for a good large stretches of it as well. Just couldn't quite get involved as much as we'd want him to, and he couldn't really find the space, I think, which is also interesting because you think maybe like a Charlie or a McNeil would draw some attention, but I actually think in some ways Dwight's lack of mobility does hurt Njai as well, because teams don't have to really send, we saw so much earlier in the season, teams doubling Njai all the time. I think this makes it a lot easier to do stuff like that when you don't have to worry about McNeil's pace or him laying it off or getting him behind.
I'd rather have Charlie getting it deeper and getting it up the field to Njai, maybe on the left in this, left half space. But I got to admit, when Dwight goes to cross, it's nice to see Njai sneaking into the box along with Beto. So, I mean, that can work. It just didn't work today. I just think when you play a team like this, you just want a better attacking left back, too. And McNeil's not that.
The fluidity with Alcaraz, Njai, and McNeil was interesting and promising, I think. We've had not much fluidity, pretty rigid structure.
It could work, right? It could work.
It could. And again, this is the first time McNeil's back. There's going to be some awkwardness with this new sort of setup. So it's just trying new stuff, and it's not all going to work at the end of the season. And ultimately, this game doesn't mean a whole lot. Yes, we could have gone up to, I think, 13th with a win, which would be very meaningful. But with the stakes that a lot of these players have had looming over their heads for the past few seasons, especially Ghana. You're looking at Ghana, I don't blame Ghana for his levels dropping just slightly towards the end of a long, grueling several years, especially given how instrumental he's been for all of this season up until the last few games. So I just have a really hard time getting super riled up about it, although I'll admit it's disappointing and unbefitting of a Goodison send-off for sure.
Yeah, that's it. I mean, I just think it's disappointing, but I think you did very well putting it in context. So, of course, it wouldn't prevent other people from overreacting. I'm sure you find it very surprising, especially on social media. So EFC Stato leaves us. We'll get into some comments now. Leaves us with this gem of a nugget. Everton have dropped 10 points from winning positions when they led by 2+ goals this season. That is not a good number.
No, it's not, and it's again the fourth time that we've done it. So the 10 points really adds up. I mean, at least we didn't lose today. I'll say that. I'll take that as a slight positive. We just gave up an equalizer, and really they didn't have a great chance at winning it. So it was pretty much kind of a stalemate after that. They probably were the more likely to go on and win it just based on, momentum, and they did. Again, the one second half shot is kind of inexcusable. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, that's something Moyes is keenly aware of and will be very much looking to change. Everton need to be able to, as you say, take control of the game, take control of the ball, and really dictate the outcome of a match in a way that this team and the personnel just aren't capable of. I don't think we have it in us.
Yeah, I think Bluest in the Discord nails it, right? I mean, I think this is pretty much spot on.
Yeah, this is excellent. Bluest 192, otherwise known as our high-profile insider in the Discord. The nice run when Moyes got here made us forget that this team still stinks, and now we remember that again. Manager change made things better, but they still stink.
His English is amazing for a Japanese guy from Norway. You know what I mean? Sorry. It's deserved with all the shots we take from our bad pronunciation. Yeah, he's right. I mean, it's just not that great. And that's why I just don't understand why people are so riled up at times. I mean, Moyes has made this team better. He's done a pretty good job. It's just the underpinning quality just isn't there. What are your thoughts about the Beto Bugle?
Yeah, the comment, I think it's the depth. That front line was working really well, and Zizo's goal was lucky. And the second was because of depth issues, but yeah. The second part is, I don't think today should be a Patterson slander day. Kid played decent.
Well, I'll say this. He did get up the pitch. I mean, obviously the team in question he's playing against isn't great, and he's dealing with, in essence, an extra center back in front of him in Jacob Greaves. he was fine, but you still saw some of the same stuff, man. I mean, slow to react on defense, bad decisions, defending. We were on the ball a lot, so you didn't see it quite as much. And when he gets in 1v1 situations, it's the same bad technique stuff, James. I just don't. I would still keep playing him, honestly. There's no reason why not to, unless he really, really just totally gasses it up in the next match. But I just don't know what we've got there. And I think we failed him a little bit from a developmental standpoint. I don't think he was that good when we first got him. He needed to play and wasn't ready to play at this level. And I'm not so sure he even is at this level either at this point. But, you just never got a chance to really see him develop at the proper level anyway. And I think that's unfortunate. There are some positives there, but I just think his overall game is just not good enough.
Yeah, victim of circumstance. Like, there's an alternate universe where we sign Patterson. We have adequate depth at right back at the time, and he goes on loan for a couple years, actually gets meaningful minutes, develops into a decent player. Unfortunately, we're left with year 4 of Nathan Patterson, in which he had by far the most minutes his first season, and they've gotten pretty much less and less. And he struggled with injuries. So, look, it's nothing personal against the guy. In a lot of ways, I think Everton are to blame for the fact that he is the player he is today, but he just has these shortcomings in the positioning, the game awareness, which are things that you need to play to develop. He just hasn't gotten that. The raw athleticism is there, but his one-on-one defending, as you say, is bad. His one-on-one attacking is really bad. His touch is clumsy. He doesn't have good vision. He's not creative. He's a
little bit creative. He could serve the ball a little bit.
Yeah.
I mean, I think
his crossing is one of his very good attributes. Like he can put in a decent cross.
You're right in terms of 1v1. He's not necessarily spectacular, overly technical, but he does have a little bit of burst. But I just don't. The rest of the package just isn't there. I question his agility. I always have. His hips, I don't think are that great. When he gets 1v1, he's too pitched over. It's not just technique. It's just athleticism.
Yeah, I think that bleeds into a lot of other areas, like the quick acceleration. Like he's got the burst, but doesn't have the agility. Which is
right.
Interesting.
And I see why someone would look at him and think, he could be something, right? Not that many guys of his size, strength, have that sort of acceleration and top end pace, right? He's a very vertical player. And to your point, James, there was probably an alternate reality where he develops into a very good fullback. I was always very skeptical of him, but there is no way he was ever acquired or ever interested in being acquired. Keep in mind what happened was, the whole entire football team quit. They would have never brought him in and with the expectation that he would start. Never, ever. That was never in the cards. I know that for a fact. And so it's just a shame, It's a shame, because he's still very talented. Transition a little bit here. I think Steve B kind of hits it on the head, how we feel, right? I know standards have become a bit of a recurring joke in here, deservedly so, I think. But I feel like a win would have been nice there. I think that sums it up really nicely how I feel, right? I don't think it's an overall referendum on everything. We know this team's not that great, but geez, we can't beat Ipswich with a 2-0 lead.
Like, they're relegated. They have no stakes. There's an unbelievable atmosphere at Goodison. You have such a good chance to, after what's going to finish as a reasonably comfortable survival, but there were times this season when things were really dark and looked bad. I'll just put it that simply. And that's not even to mention the past recent years. So to get a couple wins, we play Ipswich, Southampton, our last couple games at home. You think you have such a good opportunity to go out with 6 points, give a fond farewell to a stadium which means so much to so many people, and you just kind of botch it. And it sucks.
Yeah, I'll say this too. I think what Sleazy's comment here makes sense a little bit too. Easily could have been 3-1 Everton instead of 2-2, but Ipswich got a lucky deflection and we didn't. Despite all our possession in Ipswich half, liked what we saw from Charlie. Njai still not his pre-injury self. Just beat Southampton. And yeah, I mean, Charlie was a bright spot. I mean, maybe the only one, but I do think you can see a little bit of opportunity there. Maybe he might even be a little better than I thought he'd be. And he could be, a plug-and-play guy into the starting 11 next year. He really could be, and we already have the option for a very minimal amount. So that's going to be helping us to strengthen the side regardless. I will say this, though. I do some of the overreactions. I can't help myself, James. I got to go at these guys sometimes on social media. But, things like, this is one out there. I won't mention who it is. I generally don't see the difference between Sean Dyche and David Moyes. Same crap, different package week after week. I mean, this is just not But right, I mean, a lot of people were saying this, like Dyche would have never gotten away with this. So I sent this tweet out. I said, I just couldn't believe this. I said, Everton are 4th in expected points since he's been hired. Now, Ed at Ed Analysis gave the context behind this. He's right, because we had played more games than other people. So it's actually 9th in expected points per game, which is still very good with this underpinning squad. Do people forget, like, this wasn't Dyche where he wasn't getting results, but the underlying performance were good, like when we were winless for a while last year. I mean,
we looked inept under Dyche this season.
People forget?
I guess so. I don't know. Look, okay, so yeah, Dyche's teams blew a couple leads, and Moyes' teams have done the same. Okay, that's about the only similarity, because what Moyes has gotten out of the same group of players is just night and day to what Dyche was getting at the end of his tenure. People just need to find a reason to be angry. Like, if we're not competing for Europe, then they're not happy. If you don't see the differences between these two teams under different managers, I don't know what to tell you. I might just have to hit you with the football's not for you, because it's that bad.
I know. We're so anti that, too. I know.
Yeah, football's just for everyone, but not if you can't see the difference.
But Ed's making his point is still cannot complain at all with that performance. So we're also likely to drop once safety was assured as well. Yes. And there's part of that. The other thing is, why do we just totally ignore strength of schedule? And we're coming off a run in April where people are like, how could we be winless and blah, blah, blah. Well, yeah, we were playing some good teams. I don't know. I just think, yes, it would have been nice to win this one, but this isn't some catastrophic thing. I like what Wombat Combat says here. First time in 4 seasons, we're not worried about relegation at the end of the season with most of the same players. They're human. A draw to Ipswich means nothing unless you're addicted to screaming NSNO at a screen, which I think that's a lot of this. Here's another one. That performance today was as bad as any Dyche performance, but that's okay because it's Moyes. Well, no, it's not good enough. For the record, I didn't want Moyes back. Right, so at ncarter90, I didn't want Moyes back, but he's done a great job overall. His next job is to improve the squad in the summer now. Let's see how he does. And that, to me, is right. That's what the focus should be on. Look, we still got a couple matches. I'd like us to win a few. It'd be really nice to jump in the table and get a little bit more revenue. That would be nice. It'd be nice to make sure that we ease through PSR by the end of this fiscal year. I think those are good goals, but this is about improving the squad in the summer at this point, man. I mean, what, are we losing? People are losing the plot.
I mean, if Moyes had he's given one objective when he was hired, it was get this team safe. Accomplish that with weeks, with a month, 2 months to spare, with such comfort that we're just not used to in the recent history of this club. The rest is all just window dressing. It's like, it's extra. It's a nice bonus, but it's not anything beyond. Moyes said when he came in, within 2 or 3 games, he was talking about the deficiencies in this group of players and the ones that, like, they need to spend money. The Friedkin group have said they're going to spend money. This is just about getting through the next 3 matches, sending Goodison off, hopefully with a win against Southampton. The other 2 games, does anyone care about those 2 results? Just send Goodison off with a win, finish as high as we can, get to the summer, and that's when all the, I guess, real fun starts, potentially.
Yeah, I mean, we've already been in this in other episodes saying how we're going to spend money and whatnot. This, what really irks me, though? I just, and you know how I feel about narratives, but this whole, fragile thing, okay? Number one, it's a pretty good album by Yes. I'm just going to throw that out there. In fact, I would argue Steve Howe's playing on South Side of the Sky is unbelievable. Regardless, that has nothing to do with this. It's also a decent song by Sting, too, I might add. Okay, so the narrative is because we've had 2-0 leads and they've come back and lost, it's an incredibly fragile group per at Aaron_Barton. Is this a fragile group, James? Do we think that's the issue?
I wouldn't say fragility is the first word that comes to mind. I think just overall bad.
Right.
Right.
It's not. Right. Am I wrong? What am I missing? There's not that much talent on this team because we can't spend money. I mean, it's the lowest net spend in 5 years in the entire English pyramid. Like, what is that? What is confusing about that?
And I think so much of that is driven by the fact that you need to be able to control the ball, really, to hold on to leads. And that's just not an attribute this squad has at all. So you're left with either defending backs to the wall, which is something I think Dyche did fairly well. But yeah, the second team in Premier League history to lead 2-0 in 4 different matches and fail to win them. That said, look, 10 points would make a big difference in the table, but we're still It really doesn't make that big a difference. I mean, we could be right around 10th if we had won all these games.
Regardless, I mean, do we really think these guys have been through a lot, the guys that have been here over multiple seasons? I don't think there's anything fragile about a lot of these guys.
No.
These guys are tough,
Resilient.
mentally strong, have played probably better than they should. And I tip my hat to all of them. I know a lot of them probably won't be here next year. We need to do better. We need to upgrade. I get it. But I also don't like this Moyes is fragile nonsense that I remember hearing back in the day when Moyes was first here. I don't like it, and I don't appreciate it. I don't think there's anything to it. I understand he has a bad record against the Big Six or Big Four when it was there. I got that and stuff. But, I mean, is that because we think David Moyes is a fragile manager? What does that even mean? Because he doesn't try and win I just don't even understand the logic behind it. Some of these narratives just get created and created. I just really hope that listeners out there stop and really think about some of this stuff. Because I put this up there with the whole, Lukaku has a bad first touch or his goals don't matter. Ghana always gives the ball away, or I just doesn't pass the ball. Morgan Schneider doesn't pass the ball forward. It doesn't matter what it is, but it's just stupid, man. First of all, some of this stuff is blatantly not true. Like, I literally can go and demonstrate it in data that it's not even close to being true. It's just kind of like, I don't know. It's just exhausting. So the latest one today was, at knockoff Toff, when I posted the X points thing, which apparently people are offended when I do X in front of anything, like X offended. That should be a hashtag now, James. I'm going to put that out there. I mean, X mad. Has to score. You can shove the data wherever you want. Everton bleeped away a 4-2 goal advantage of the season because the squad isn't good enough and we hire fragile managers.
Should have just taken off the fragile managers because the squad isn't good enough. That's probably about an accurate assessment of the state of things.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, sometimes people are looking too much into mentality, and don't get me wrong. I mean, I understand that a team can mirror the character of the head coach, right? He's the boss. You would hope they would a little bit, but I just think it's utter nnonsense. Upcoming schedule, James, we could get a result in any one of these games.
Yeah, very, very achievable. The last 3 games, we got Fulham at Craven Cottage versus Southampton, big one, at Newcastle. Again, the away games, Fulham and Newcastle will be more challenging than I think Southampton, but honestly, it wouldn't shock me
out on a limb there.
If we did in Everton and we got points on it in both of those fixtures, but just somehow drop the ball against Southampton.
Well, but look, James, and we saw the style of play that when we have to get on the front foot, we have to get on the ball and control the match a lot. It doesn't really work for this team very well. I think a lot of these guys play better behind the ball, and I think that's what you're going to see a little bit more at Fulham. And you'll see that at Newcastle. And I think that suits us fine. I don't think either of those teams are that good. They're certainly better. They're certainly more talented. But I think we've shown that we can play with some teams like this. So why don't we talk a little bit about Fulham here, James?
Yeah, sure. So Fulham, well-loved, some of their personnel by Evertonians. They're 9th in the table, having a pretty good season under Marco Silva. They're 8th in expected points. Look, the guy that you got to talk about when you talk about Fulham is our beloved Alex Iwobi. He has shown what he's about. Well, at Fulham, we'll put it that way. What's he at? 15 goal contributions on the year, 9 goals, 6 assists. They've got Anthony Robinson down the left. That's just a really, really strong left side, really creative left side. Jedi has 10 assists on the season, so we're going to look to try to shut that down. And again, if you're talking about Dwight McNeil and Nathan Patterson trying to defend against those guys, I don't feel like that's going to go super well for us. So we'll see what Moyes cooks up. But they also have a pretty solid back line. I mean, Bassey's been decent, and they've got a lot of guys who've started a lot of games for them. Iwobi and Robinson being among those, of course. Bassey's been rock solid at the back. Leno's a good keeper.
Yeah, him and Anderson make a good pairing, too. I mean, they have a nice little combination between the two, and they can support their style of play well. I mean, they're a pretty high-possession team. They like to get on the ball. They've got some options in fullback. They've had some injuries on the right side, and they've got a variety of attacking options. I mean, Iwobi will sit there in the half space, but even on the other side, they can bring on Emile Smith-Rowe, Willian. Sessegnon played a little bit more for them recently, which is kind of interesting, but Adama Traore is a pain sometimes to play against, for sure. And so they've got some options. I mean, I don't love their midfield. I mean, Andreas Pereira is an interesting player, and Sander Berge is
I know
good
you
on
love Sander Berge.
Well, he's good on the ball. He's got length. I mean, he can run, but I mean, he's not that great defensively. And I think that they can be had a little bit. But fundamentally, they're a pretty solid team. They've got a couple rotational elements up top. I mean, it's been mostly Raul Jimenez all year, and he's had a little bit of a comeback season for him. Would you not say? But
yeah.
I mean, Carlos Vinicius is back too, so he can play a little bit up there. So I don't know. Harry Wilson too. I kind of forgot him and. I don't know. They have some options. They're a decent team, but I think that kind of continuity in the back line and that left side is really what makes them tick.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. Muniz also. I mean, he's got 8 goals and just under 1,000 minutes this season. He's halfway decent as well. So they've got certainly more depth than Everton. We'll see what type of lineup Marco Silva trots out. And the matchups I don't think look super great for us on paper, but I also think it's a game in which Everton can certainly, with less of the ball, gives us a bit more of a platform to kind of do what this team can do, and they're playing in a way that suits them. So we'll see how that goes, and we'll go from there. Ryan, any final thoughts on this one before we wrap things up?
I just want people to kind of just relax. Let's hope things start to trend in a more positive way. But fundamentally, we really need to focus on getting better players in the summer. That doesn't mean you can't be critical on a loss. It's tough to lose being up 2-0 at home against Ipswich. So I get all that, but this is not a catastrophic thing. And I guess what I really don't understand is complaining about the team as is when it's not super talented. And you should know there's going to be a lot of squad turnover. Just seems like a bit of a waste of time, in my opinion. That's all.
Fair enough. I'd agree with that. Also, just shout out to Sean Conn. Hope you had a great trip. Although you didn't see a win, you did get to see the penultimate game at Goodison. And yeah, we're just on the beach. Like, we'll just get to the end of the season, and that's when things get really exciting. So let's try not to get too upset before then. Just let what happens, and we go from there. Once the window opens, it's going to be a frantic, pretty crazy summer because there's a lot of stuff that needs to happen. So we're looking forward to covering that, but we'll cover the last few games for you guys too. We hope you enjoyed this episode. If you did, rating and review, podcast platform of choice, please and thank you. Follow us on socials. Join the Discord. Links in the description. With that, we'll leave you till next time. Until then, up the Toffees.